Good morning, Twins territory. How are you doing? A little bit of a different time slot for me here. This is the TF Twins morning show today. Thanks for joining me. Figured we'd have a chat. Go ahead and join me here. I've got the live chat up. I know it's a little bit delayed. So as you file in here, let me know your reactions to the news this morning that the Twins signed freaking Carlos Correa. What? That was me. What? This is amazing. This is unbelievable. This is such a weird and fun and weird offseason. And just did not see this coming at all, and should have, because that's how most of this offseason has gone, is sort of expect the unexpected. So we should have seen this coming, really, but I did not at all, because I was expecting Carlos. This is the best free agent on this year's market, Carlos Correa. This is one of the youngest, really great free agents I can remember. Carlos Correa is only 27 years old. So it really didn't occur to me that he was going to potentially get this kind of a deal. Why it came to this, I don't care right now. Let's be honest. You know, why he didn't get that 10-year, why he didn't get that Corey Seager contract, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me, because Seager is the better hitter, but it's not like Correa is not a good hitter, and Correa is so much better defensively than Seager is. So he is. It's not that Correa didn't get that deal because he's not a $300 million type caliber player. And let's not lose. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is a very significant amount of money still that was committed to him. 3 years, $105.3 million deal. It does have opt-out clauses after the first and second season. So on his end, you can see he has a lot of flexibility, which you got to do. I think you would have had to have done that to get Carlos, because you weren't going to get Carlos Correa on this contract without those opt-out clauses. Or you maybe could have got him on a 1-year deal. And maybe that's what this comes down to. But I don't know how you can not love this. $35.1 million annually. So another thing that just kind of to backtrack here on where I was at before, kind of late last evening, I was sort of coming to the realization, like, hold on, the more this goes on, like, my story confidence had kind of dipped, but then I was starting to go back up, because I thought this whole situation was starting to feel a lot like Josh Donaldson. To where, it seemed like Story, my guess was that the Twins had the best offer on the table to Story, and he was basically desperately trying another team to make an offer to him. And that might be what was going on. So I was remaining hopeful that the Twins might land Story. But this wasn't on my radar at all. And, this is great because, if you think about this, I was expecting Trevor Story probably to get a 4 or a 5-year deal, which he's 29 years old, so he's 2 years older than Carlos Correa. So there would have been some risk in there that, yes, Story's a great defensive shortstop now, but at some point during that 4 or 5 year period that the Twins would have signed him for, chances were pretty good he was going to kind of lose a step, or, the aging curve is tough, especially for, shortstops or center fielders. Now, instead, you get Correa, who, again, is only 27 years old. And you don't have that, concern about, aging or anything. Yes, you're paying him more. I get that. But this is what you did. This is what makes the Josh Donaldson moves. This is what makes that whole from the Mitch Garver trade through the Josh Donaldson trade make sense. Because seeing it in that trade, if you didn't see my analysis of it, I thought at that time I was looking at that Donaldson trade, and I was thinking, like, all right, well, if they're going to go after Story, I don't see any reason why they couldn't have fit Donaldson and Story on the same team. Because Story probably is going to get, we're guessing, somewhere around $23 million was most of the projections. So I felt the Twins probably could have fit those two salaries on the same roster. Now, there isn't, obviously there's not a salary cap in baseball, but we look at things objectively. We try to think of things, in terms of how the Twins operate. And I don't think the Twins would have fit this in Donaldson's contract in their budget. So this signing makes not only do I love this signing, and I'm excited for this signing, and I think it's a smart and good signing, this signing makes every other move this offseason even better. The Byron Buxton extension looks even better. The Sonny Gray trade looks even better. There's a lot more sense to be made of the Texas and New York trade kind of through line now. And the other thing, too, is do you think the Twins helped to eliminate somewhat the New York Yankees' desire for Carlos Correa? Kiner Falefa is not anywhere near on the same level of player as Carlos Correa. Don't get me wrong. But once the Yankees not only took on Donaldson's contract, but also brought in Kiner Falefa, a shortstop, I'm not saying that eliminated their interest in Correa, but it certainly would have made them less desperate for him. So that's another sort of interesting side element to all of this offseason's logic. And I said it on the last video recorded about what the hell are the Twins doing, was that I thought they'd put themselves in a very ballsy situation. I think they were kind of putting themselves out there in a position where they had created payroll flexibility. They were going to look really bad if they didn't come away with a Trevor Story. Didn't think about it at the time, but with a Carlos Correa. I even threw Nick Castellanos as maybe a guy they could pivot to if they didn't get Story. If they didn't trade and take on salary. You're not totally in control of what you can do with that payroll flexibility. You can't make guys sign with your team. You can't make teams trade to you. So the Twins could have looked absolutely garbage this offseason had they not, and we were getting nervous. I was getting nervous. I was getting anxious that was going to be the case. They were going to come up empty-handed, and they created that flexibility and it just didn't work out. Whatever, they thought they could pivot to didn't happen. So, I've been pretty vocal about, questioning this front office. I think they deserve a ton of credit for the creativity and ballsiness of this offseason that they've put together. There was a lot of riskiness to it. There's no way when they made the Josh Donaldson trade that they knew that they were going to get Carlos Correa or that they knew they were going to get Trevor Story. So they had opened themselves up for potentially kind of a disaster of an offseason in some ways. And now Carlos Correa is in. I don't feel like I have to talk a whole lot about, or explain Carlos, some of these free agents and some of the guys out there. You gotta, I feel like not the casual fan has a lot of context on who these guys are, but we know Carlos Correa. I don't think I have to go into too much detail about the kind of guy the Twins are getting. I guess, one thing I'll mention is this guy might be one of the most hated players in baseball. I never really got that. The whole sign stealing scandal with the 2017 World Series champion Astros, that frustrated me how that was handled by the league. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. And I get some of that was because they got information from the Astros on exactly how it was sort of a trade-off. But you can't be mad at Carlos Correa because the Astros didn't get punished. Be mad at Rob Manfred and whoever is on the committee that decides that stuff. Is it a good look that he was, involved in all that stuff? No, but it's water under the bridge at this point. Anything that he's done post 2017 or 2018, whenever they kind of put two and two together, has not had anything to do with any kind of sign stealing stuff. So, and he's coming off one of his best seasons. Last season, he was tremendous. He had a 131 OPS plus. That's where 100 is league average. So he's way above league average. He is considered one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. On top of that, oh, by the way, and like I mentioned in the story video, I mentioned Correa in that guys who play shortstop and can hit, their defense actually gets underrated, in my opinion, because there's a complete game to these guys. They can do everything. So the guys are great glove men who can't hit. People rave about their gloves, and that's almost all they talk about. So their defense almost gets elevated. Carlos Correa might be the best defensive shortstop in baseball. He has a cannon of an arm. He's probably not among the most agile or rangy shortstops, but he has such a big arm that it creates some advantages, and you can position him differently than you can position a lot of other shortstops because he has that arm. So you can kind of make up for his lack of range. It's not that he doesn't have range, but he doesn't have elite range. Guy, finished 5th in MVP voting, was the Gold Glover, won the Fielding Bible Award for shortstop this year. That's only one guy gets that. So it's not one per league. One guy gets that per position, and Carlos Correa won that this past season. And if you watch my stuff, that's the metric that I like the most for fielding is the Fielding Bible's defensive runs saved. So one of the best hitting shortstops in baseball, possibly the best defensive shortstop in baseball, a guy who's in his prime, again, at 27 years old. It is so rare that a guy this young reaches free agency. Made his major league debut at 20 years old when he made his debut. Just incredible. This is just so unbelievable. It's just crazy. And on top of all that other stuff, okay, that would be great in its own. This guy has played 79 playoff games in his career already. 70, almost a half season's worth of playoff baseball Carlos Correa has under his belt. And we know from 2020, that bad Astros team got into the playoffs, and it was like instantly they were a different squad, and he destroyed the Twins in that. And, it was only a 2-game series. But he was, one of the main reasons why the Astros overcame the Twins. And then he kept playing well. His postseason line, again, it's almost a half season worth of, usually when you talk about somebody's postseason performance, it's like a little tiny sample of, maybe like a month's worth of games. This is 79 games. This is 334 plate appearances we're talking about here. This guy has a mountain of playoff experience. He is at 272 with a 344 on base percentage and a 505 slugging percentage in the postseason. That is an 849 OPS. He has 18 home runs in 79 games in the postseason. This is a guy, and usually, statistically, there's usually not really anything sticky about, postseason performances. I usually wouldn't bring this up as something to analyze about a guy. But when it's this big of a sample, when it's 79 games, 334 plate appearances, I think that's a significant sample. And even if his numbers were only as good as they were in the regular season, think about it. In the regular season, you're able to beat up on all the bad teams. You're in the postseason, you're only facing good pitching. You're only facing good teams. And he's posted that line. Again, 272 is the batting average. 344 is the on-base percentage. 505 is the slugging. He has slugged over 500 and an 849 OPS. Just amazing numbers in the postseason. This is a knockout of the park. This is this is going to make the lineup better. One of the concerns I had with losing Donaldson and Garver from the lineup was those were two of the better right-handed hitting hitters in the lineup. Carlos Correa hits right-handed, so he's fixing that problem and then clearly fixing the shortstop problem. And he is such a good defender at shortstop that it's going to help the pitching staff. He's not just this guy can play short. He's a great defensive shortstop. He's won a platinum glove, too. Mentioned the Fielding Bible Awards. He's also a Platinum Glove Award winner. So he's going to help on both sides. All right. This is this is a great day. This is very fun. What a weird and crazy off season. So I am kind of going to switch gears, going to get take care of some of my coffee, and then roll through some of your comments here. Yeah, man, head exploded. That about says it all, doesn't it? Yeah, Isaac. The Twins do still need some pitching. They need some pitching still. But again, this is going to help with the defense. This is going to they still have the flexibility to trade for pitching. Now, again, like I was saying, just because you can do it or you're in a position to do it, you can't make teams trade with you. We heard that the Reds are not interested in trading Castillo or Male. So, if that's true, I don't know if that's made. That might be positioning by them. They're just, trying to get teams to increase their offers potentially. Maybe it's true. I don't know, but you can't make teams trade with you. Sometimes you can't get a package that makes sense to the trade logic the team you're trading with wants. But hopefully they can find a way. It's a bit of a bummer that they didn't do more in the free agent market. I mean, basically they didn't do anything. They got Dylan Bundy, and that was it. So it's kind of a bummer that they didn't, but putting this very hefty salary of Correa's, again, I don't think I think that's completely fine for him. A guy this good of a hitter, this good of a defensive shortstop, this young, it's gonna be an eye-opening amount of money you're gonna pay a guy like that. So I don't want to paint this as a negative toward that contract, but it does hinder some of the things I thought the Twins might have been able to do in a trade, as in terms of like taking on a bad contract potentially to help them get a trade done. Awesome. Ross Resource already has Correa on the Twins. All right. So that means we can take a look. All right. So yeah, I think it would be tough. It would be tough now to make trades, because we'll see. We don't know what the number is. So many years, and who knows if this is actually, legit, or if this is sort of the free agent or the front office trying to look good to their bosses. But we've heard many times over the years. Terry Ryan was more specific with this, but I believe we've heard Falvey and Levine say, "Oh yeah, we had a little bit more room with the payroll, but we didn't quite go up against the total." So we can never really know behind the scenes what they're looking at their final payroll to be. But we can see here on Roster Resource at Fangraphs, their estimated 2022 payroll is now $129 million. If I remember correctly, this was their final payroll, but if I remember correctly, their 2021 payroll entering the year was right around 130 as well. So, does this mean they're done? It might. I think, I'm not sure it would be realistic to expect them to increase the payroll after finishing in last place. But, every addition they make, it feels like it makes more sense for them to push more, So we'll see. I'm not sure ownership is going to want to go past this, to be honest, but maybe Falvey and Levine can say, hey, we'll make your money back. We think if we can add, another pitcher, again, that would be via trade. There's really nobody on the free agent market that's going to really move the needle much. If they can build that case that, hey, if you let us add some more salary by getting a pitcher in here in a trade, we think we can make that money back from getting a playoff, getting you some playoff revenue. We'll see if they can pull that off, because now ownership's going to want to go beyond that. And again, yeah, I thought that there was a chance the Twins could possibly fit Donaldson and Astori on the same team. Now that this is done, that makes it clear. I don't think they would have, Again, there's not a salary cap in baseball. There's no reason why the Twins can't go beyond this. But just being realistic, with how they operate, I don't think they would have fit Correa and Donaldson on the same roster of payroll. So that really crystallizes and makes sense of what they've been up to this offseason a lot more. So this signing really interweaves so many things that are going on and makes sense and really ties up what's happened thus far in a nice bow. I don't want to lose sight too. I keep trying to the Buxton extension was part of this offseason too. So that is, that was clearly a very popular move. And I think, a pretty great extension in terms of, the value they got and all that, the risk that's built into it. So yeah, it's a good spot to be in. So I don't want to, I agree with the analysis that to use some more pitching. Absolutely. But I don't want to dwell on that too hard with the state of the way things are. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think a lot of prospect fans, which I think a lot of people who follow this channel, we talk about the prospects a ton. So, a lot of you guys I know who are regulars think a lot about the prospects. As Royce Lewis can be traded, I wouldn't expect, again, remember this Correa deal. He has, let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, he has an opt-out clause after the contract's first and second season. So basically every year of this deal, Correa has an opportunity to opt out of. So it's entirely possible that that Correa is only here for one season. So if he goes out and has another banana season, and then maybe, with fewer shortstops, without 7 great shortstops on the market or whatever it was this offseason, maybe he has a different, outlook on his free agency. Maybe he opts out and goes back. So I don't think it's necessarily needed for the Twins to trade Royce Lewis. There's some evaluators that don't think Royce Lewis is a shortstop anyway. And especially right now, if we're talking about right now, Royce Lewis's value is at like an all-time low. He hasn't played in 2 years, so you can't expect many teams to be that intrigued by him as a trade target. You'd be selling low. So I don't think that this means Royce Lewis is getting traded at all. Royce can play a lot of different positions. And as much as having Buxton signed long-term is a great thing and means they don't need a center fielder, if they keep developing Royce as a guy who can, play short, play second, play third, play center field, it'd be really nice to have that backup plan, because, I don't think Buxton's going to suddenly start playing 162 games. Not that you want to go out and, sign a potential backup center fielder, but having a guy like Royce Lewis and Austin Martin too, who are potentially guys who can handle center field along with Buxton in case of a Buxton injury, some Buxton insurance. I think that's a great thing to have. So I wouldn't, I'm sure Royce is more available than he was yesterday. But I don't know that he's a lock to get traded. Yeah, Daniel, I can see the Twins trading Correa at the deadline if the postseason out of reach for prospects and starting pitching. Yeah, absolutely. Same thing about Sonny Gray. I think, the thing about this front office is they are trying to target value. I think it is hard to make sense of what they're doing all the time in terms of, are they trying to win? Are they rebuilding? Are they going for it? I think they're always just trying to come out on top on value with every signing they make, with every trade they make. They're trying to get value. And if it's looking like they're not in the hunt and Correa's playing well, and they're, let's say, as a team in the hunt that needs a shortstop, I think they could be convinced to trade Carlos Correa. Absolutely. If that scenario happens. Now, of course, we're hoping that the Twins are in the hunt, and with the expanded postseason, it's going to be an easier thing to do. Even with this massive addition, I still think Chicago's clearly the class of the division. But I'm a little, I think, more lukewarm on what the Tigers did this offseason than a lot of other people are. I think they got a lot better. I don't want to take anything away from Detroit. They got a lot better. But I still don't think I think they have a lot of young prospects that could make a big impact and kind of shift that team. But I still don't think they're really, that much of a team to be too concerned about. And then, the Twins are clearly above, Cleveland, who, if anything, they're probably going to get worse. Jose Ramirez might get traded eventually. So if anything, you would expect Cleveland to get worse. And then Kansas City, who hasn't done a ton. Kansas City also has some great guys coming up through their farm system that could kind of push them one way or another. So, a couple X factor teams, but I think, clearly this puts the Twins in second, I think, in the division. All right, trying to catch up on some of this other stuff. Yeah, and there's the Twins also have those, I mentioned, some of the prospects that those teams have. The Twins also have some prospects that could be impact guys. But yeah, if you think about it, Max Kepler, Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela, Miguel Sano. There are a lot of guys on this team that Dylan Bundy was really good in 2020. There's a lot of guys on this roster where if they kind of get back to one of their career years, and it's not like these, you can't do that with a guy who's like 35. Be like, well, if he can play like he did when he was 27. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about guys who are reasonably in their prime, who have had good seasons, not in the distant past. And if you think like, man, if these guys could be what they were in those years, that's where you can really start to, and we know not everybody is going to do that. So you can't go nuts with that. It would be too crazy to think literally every single one of those guys is going to, but some of them are. I think you're going to have at least a couple of these guys bounce back and show that they are, and it's not like we're asking them to do anything they haven't done. These guys have all had great seasons. So that's kind of the X factor for the Twins. And then again, they have some young guys coming up. Jose Miranda is probably the guy who's closest on the bat side. Josh Winder is probably the closest guy on the pitching side. There's other guys, Austin Martin, Royce Lewis, and those, it's harder to see a path for some of those guys, but one injury can really open up the door for a lot of stuff. Ryan Jeffers, Alex Kirilloff, Trevor Larnach, all those guys, what if they click? What if they click and all those guys kind of get back to where they were at their peaks? It could be bananas. Montas would be incredible at this point now. It's going to take a ton. It's going to take a lot. It's going to hurt to trade for Frankie Montas. But at this point, that would be, and he's only, I think he's arbitration eligible. Excuse me, arbitration eligible, and I think he's only projected to make like $5.5 million. So it's not like Montas would be that difficult of a guy to fit into the payroll. As much as I love Sano, we need a more consistent first baseman. Might be Alex Kirilloff. And Sano is one of those kind of guys who I think could be a pivot guy for the Twins. I don't love Sano either, and he's crazily inconsistent. What if he puts it all together this year? That's sort of, and again, one of those things you can think about with this Twins team. What if these guys click? And Miguel is going to be playing for his team option. He has a team option next year. He's not guaranteed a contract for next season, so we'll see. Hopefully, he comes out motivated, and we see the better Miguel Sano more often next season, this coming season. A lot of projection systems had them as about an 80 to 84 win team prior to this move. I wonder if I can pull up the projected standings at Fangraphs to see if they are updated yet. Looks like they have him listed at 81 and 81 on Fangraphs. I don't know if those are reflecting. Well, I think I can find out. Is Correa still listed as a free agent? He is not. So that must be with them. So yeah, it looks like Fangraphs is projecting the Twins at an 81 and 81 record right now. Which I think before this trade, I thought they were like 76. I think I told somebody on Twitter, a 76 win team. So, Carlos Correa was a 5.8, almost a 6-win player, according to Fangraphs. He had 5.8 WAR last season. And most of the projection systems, which are, usually conservative, the projection systems are projecting him for 5. So, yeah, that adds up to me. And then, that may be like some Twins fans might be a little disappointed by hearing that. Let's just put this up. I just want to look at this. How nice this is. Again, this is a guy that does everything well. Oh boy. Sometimes when I make these too big, it gets a little crazy. Baseball savant's like, no, you're not supposed to look at us this big. There we go. There we go. So much red. Everything in the red. This guy does everything well. Basically, the only thing he doesn't do is steal bases. That makes him an incredibly underrated player to fantasy baseball fans. Like if you're a fantasy baseball guy, you probably don't think Carlos Correa is that great, like an old school 5x5 aspect, because he doesn't steal bases. But from a functional major league, actual real life baseball standpoint, he does everything well. He's tremendous. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe some Twins fans will be think that's a slap in the face to call them an 81-win team. But if you, again, there's so much variance with this roster where you can see if everything clicks, that's going to elevate them into that contention. But if everything doesn't, again, these are high variance players. You can go both ways. If everything doesn't, you could see them not really, plummeting from that. So it's going to be interesting. All right, catching up on some. Yeah, and we'll see. Only time will tell, how long Correa is going to stick around. He could opt out. He could get traded. We mentioned that. I don't know if there was a. Let's see. I don't know that there was any trade. Any ability to no trade. There probably was. Most guys that sign for this kind of money get some kind of a no trade clause. But I don't know that was in any of the reporting. You guys will have to let me know if you saw that. Since I've been live streaming, I haven't been up to date, up to the minute on all this stuff. But, some people might look at that as a negative, that the Twins didn't lock in Correa for multiple seasons. And I would say that would have been more ideal. But it's difficult to even expect. It was basically unimaginable for this to happen in the first place. So to expect him to sign here and commit to be here would have been tough. Because, let's face it, the Twins are coming off a last place finish. This is a guy who's been on winning teams. Again, he's almost played a half season of playoff baseball. He wants to win. And yeah, he's going to want kind of an opt-out, like he got to get out of the door if he potentially needs to get out of here if it's looking like this isn't going to work. And on the plus side for the Twins, even though I would have preferred that they could have locked him in for more than 1 year, on the plus side, they're also, they didn't have to give him a 10-year contract or a 7-year contract, which those almost always end poorly. So, I think this is good for the player. I think this is good for the team. I kind of want to pivot that from the 81 win, which doesn't sound real exciting. But again, too, speaking of the last place thing, when you're coming off a last place season, we just watched a season where basically the last 5 months were pointless. By April, you kind of already knew like this ain't going to work for the Twins. I don't think we're going to be in that situation this year. Of course, we didn't think we were going to be in that situation last year either. But, again, the Twins could have torn this all down. They could have been doing what Oakland's doing. They could have been doing what Cincinnati's been doing. So I'm very, very happy that they have said, no, we want to try. We want to try to figure something else out. We want to give this a shot. Yeah, exactly, Bob. Bob points out, this gives Lewis a year to prove himself in AAA. Absolutely. Again, I don't want to say that the Twins won't trade Royce Lewis, but I don't think that having Correa here, especially since it's only for 1 year right now, that we can look at it right now, potentially only for 1 year, I don't think there's any reason that the Twins have to get rid of Royce Lewis. I think it's a good thing that they're not going to feel like they need to rush him. This is a guy who hasn't really played in 2 years. This is a guy coming off a major knee injury too. Oh, by the way, this is a guy who's going through a swing change. If you saw my latest video on the channel, so this is, if anything, going to help buy him time as well. This is another positive outcome. And you can say the same to some degree in Austin Martin. I don't think he's a shortstop anyway. And maybe Royce Lewis isn't, like I said. Again, I don't know. Yeah, this could. You're right. This could backfire if Correa does horrible. And he does have there is some inconsistency in his performance year to year. So I don't want to seem like that's not, in 2018, he only had a 99 OPS plus, and in 2020, he only had a 93 OPS plus. So he has been a little bit inconsistent, but overall, he's been tremendous with a 127 OPS plus. And once again, throughout this entire time, he's been a very good defensive shortstop. So that really helps bake in his floor. That was kind of one of my arguments to Trevor Story. Whether or not you thought his bat was going to play outside of Coors, at least you were getting good defense. And then it just would be, and it happens, but it would be very unlikely for a guy entering his age 20 seasons. This is usually sort of the golden time for breakouts, age 27 season. It would be pretty unusual to see a guy suddenly kind of trail off at this point in his career. It's possible, but I wouldn't expect it. This is about as bulletproof of a deal as you could possibly imagine for a top of the market player. How did the Twins land him? I'm guessing they went above where any other team would go in terms of AAV this year. They guaranteed him the most money up front. I'm guessing he had offers that were long. I'm guessing he had offers that were for more money total. But I think that I'm guessing this Twins offer had the combination of both giving him the most money right now and giving him the most flexibility. So, other teams may have offered him 3 years, 105, but it was maybe backloaded and didn't include opt-outs or something. So yeah, again, this was the top agent in this year's class. So it's not like, in the Josh Donaldson saga of signing him, it kind of became clear that no other teams were really all that interested in signing Josh Donaldson. Now, there were teams that had interest, but not really a ton. Again, this is a guy in his prime, the best free agent on the market. There was competition, and the Twins came out on top. So again, I've been very negative about the front office at times of late. So I want to really make sure to give them a lot of credit for this one here. And again, want to focus on that and kind of keep that where the focus is. But I think it's only natural, to ask about the pitching. And I see that's a lot of people are. So, yeah, this doesn't look like a playoff rotation. I guess the counter argument is the Twins have done. Hey, Wally, thanks for the super chat. I think the counter argument is that the Twins have gone to the postseason with worse rotations before, probably in the past. That's maybe sort of a result of the being in the AL Central. Let me try to blow this up some more. Again, sometimes these sites don't really, or Chrome doesn't really like it when I do that, but there we go. So this is the projected Twins rotation as we're looking at it. Again, I think with the payroll where it's at, it might be a little tricky. I don't know that I would expect the Twins to add anybody. I don't know. It's hard to, I mean, wouldn't have expected this deal. So it's hard to say they close the door on anything here. But let's just look at where we're at pitching-wise. Sonny Gray, Dylan Bundy, Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan, Randy Dobnak. After that, we have, scrolling down here, the depth beyond. Lewis Thorpe, Griffin Jacks, Josh Winder, Jordan Balazovic, Yohan Duran, Cole Sands, Drew Strotman. So there is some interesting, if Bailey Ober can come up and be a league average, aroundish starting pitcher, and this isn't like, I'm not saying this is logic that we can lock in, but I don't see there any reason why Josh Winder can't. But, you got to keep in mind, like, you can't just extrapolate Ober and Ryan's performances out last year and expect them to be as good as they were. Some guys come in and look really good right away, and then whether it's the league figuring them out or what, they have a hard time keeping it up. Sonny Gray is actually the perfect example of that. Sonny Gray, a huge prospect, busted through the league, was excellent at 25. He was damn near won a Cy Young, and then he had a bad year in Oakland, kind of bounced back. So it's like it's not a linear thing always with young guys. So maybe Ober and Ryan are even better than last year. That could happen. But they also could be worse. So it's a very shaky situation with the rotation, no doubt about it. They're as positive as I can be about the Correa signing. There is no denying that this is a shaky situation. I've been on the don't completely dismiss Johnny Cueto. I'm not saying get excited about Johnny Cueto. I'm telling you, if you put Johnny Cueto into this rotation, I feel better. In any additions make me feel better because you need depth. Your top seven, you're going to expect your 6 and 7 starters are probably, based on what happened last year, more than likely going to pitch around like a half season in your rotation with how many guys get injured. So you want to feel like there's like Randy Dobnak as a 5. I don't like Randy Dobnak as a 6-7. All right, fine. So I'm not saying that anybody on the free agent market is going to elevate this rotation, but I think Johnny Cueto could really help the back end and give you another guy where it's like, all right, there's somebody else is at least here. But yeah, the free agent market is almost empty. I was going to say thin, but it's damn near empty at this point. So, that makes you not feel great about the rotation, but there are still trades. And I think, again, like I've been saying, it's difficult. You can't, it's almost impossible to predict what's going to happen on the trade market, to project who's available. We don't know what the Twins are going to do payroll wise, if they're even interested in adding any more salary. But again, I don't want that to distract from the fact of the news of the day that Carlos Correa is a Minnesota Twin. All right, jumping back in. Derek, okay, I'm going to jump back to where we're at in live here, and I see Derek with the most recent comment here. Derek, thanks for stopping by. Very excited about Correa. Thanks for the kind words as well. If you have any insight that you want to provide on Carlos Correa, what's it like to have Carlos Correa on your team? Rooting for Carlos Correa, you'll please share that in the chat. And again, if anybody in the chat, you guys, I love seeing, and I see some of that, having some side conversations. This is all about, us coming together and chatting about this and discussing Correa and having fun. So do that. If you guys are connecting with each other, I'm happy. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're doing here. I love it. This is also me saying I need to take a sip of water. So speak amongst yourselves. Yeah, Andrew. I mean, I don't see. Yeah, even if like let's play the out the scenario where Correa is only a Twin for a season. Well, that would mean he's walking away from $35.1 million. So if Carlos Correa is only, well, yeah. If Carlos Correa is only going to be a Twin, you can see my brain is still like recovering from this. I'm still just like flustered. But if Carlos Correa is only a Twin for one season, it's because he had an unbelievably damn good season. So, you know, like if that's what we're worried about, that I love that. I would love to be worried about that. Yeah, Noah, he passed up 5 years, 170 from the Astros. He'll be gone in 2 years. Maybe that's how it works out. I don't know. I'm not gonna. The Twins just got one of the best players in baseball. The Twins just got the best player on the free agent market. If that's for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm not going to be too concerned about that at this point. And the thing is, too, all it cost them was money. In a trade, and you guys, I've been talking all offseason that for pitching, I would prefer if they could get a guy with 3 years of team control or more. That's a big ask. There's not even that many established pitchers that have that. I realize that's a big ask. Because if you're giving up minor leaguers prospects, that is where I'm concerned about. Well, how long, those prospects you could have had 6 years of team control under, very affordable deals. Usually they're valuable for every team. They're incredibly valuable to the Minnesota Twins and how they operate their franchise usually. Now with Carlos Correa, all you're doing is spending money. That's it. So if it's a 1 year deal, if it's a 2 year deal, if it's 3, well, who cares? I don't care. all you spent was money to get him. So it's not like you invested prospect capital, and you only have him for a year. And I think, again, I don't think this is a lot. $35.1 million is a lot. That's a lot. But I don't think that's the going rate for a guy like this. Like this says, I think that's around what Anthony Rendon got. So, and Rendon is way older than Correa, and he's been injured more than Correa. Yeah, and that's another thing. Ain't our money? Use that Polad money. Spend that Polad money. And again, it doesn't. They are up against the point where I would expect them probably to be where they wanted to be. We'll see. Again, like I said, it may be 130 was we don't know. This is speculation, but maybe 130 was the number. And this is where they're at. But this is done. Could Falvey go to Polad and be like, listen, I know this was the number before, but can you find a way? Can we get, we think it's going to be worthwhile to expand just a little more. We're not asking for much, just a little more. Can they pull that off? Possibly. I don't know. Or maybe the number was always 140. That's possible too. I don't know. We don't know from the outside looking in. It's not like teams say, this is how much we're going to spend this offseason. It's not the way it always works. So I certainly don't think that this was the Twins came into the offseason saying, yeah, we're going to come out and we're going to sign Buxton to an extension. We're going to trade Mitch Garver and Josh Johnson, and then we're going to sign Carlos Correa. There's no way that this was even the plan that they thought was going to happen. So extremely excited for Miranda. I mean, I think you still can. They're the Twins. I don't know that Luis Arraez and Gio Urshela make a nice and interesting third base platoon, but if Jose Miranda comes out and plays extremely well, I don't think there's any reason to believe he can't factor in there. The Twins also don't have an everyday DH. Miranda can also play first base. So, in these conversations of, when people start to be kind of concerned or disappointed, if a prospect they feel like got blocked, Just remember Luis Ariz. Luis Ariz. Nobody, and even to this day, nobody's made any kind of room. Nobody's made any plans for Luis Ariz. Even in 2022, the Twins aren't making room for Luis Ariz, really. Yes, they traded Donaldson, but they brought back a third baseman in that deal. So even now, they're not making things super clear for Luis Ariz. They could have, they're keeping Polanco at second base. That's another thing that's sort of blocking Luis Ariz. But the guy's going to play. The guy's going to play almost every day. How did that happen? Jonathan Scope got hurt. Luis Ariz came in and played really well. And they were like, well, geez, this guy's really good. What are we going to do with him? He's never played left field in his life. And they stuck him in left field because they needed someone there and they put him there. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about Jose Miranda, Royce Lewis, Austin Martin, all these guys. Is there like a really clear path for them right now? No. Does that mean they're blocked necessarily? I don't think so. That same thing that happened with Luis Ariz could happen with any of these guys. And those guys at least have some more positional flexibility. Miranda can play third, second, first base. They put him out in the outfield for the first time last year in AAA. It didn't really look good. Hopefully that's something he's been working on this offseason. Because he would fit really nicely there. Not that the Twins need outfield. I'm going to need another sip here. But Miranda's not nearly as athletic as a Royce Lewis or an Austin Martin. Those guys are great athletes. Those guys can play basically anywhere. Anywhere you want to put them, those guys could play. So I wouldn't worry about the prospects. I think we can still be just as excited for those guys. Yeah, Danny, would Drew Smiley be worth signing? Yeah, he kind of fits into that Cueto thinking where, are you going to be excited about Drew Smiley? No. Is he really going to kind of elevate the rotation? No. Is he going to help secure the back end of the rotation? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because like I said, you can't just look at your starting five. I think you at least have to look at your starting seven in the rotation and feel comfortable with that. And I think Drew Smiley would definitely help in that regard. Yeah, and something that I was hoping with Josh Donaldson, and I think Carlos Correa kind of has a similar personality. I don't think Carlos Correa is the type of guy that lets anybody push him around, or he's very vocal, very outspoken. And again, he has won a ton. This guy, and sometimes that can be overrated, but I think this guy's also been a key figure on winning teams, like a leadership personality on these winning teams. So yeah, I think bringing a guy like that into the clubhouse, we can't know. We'll see. Maybe Correa is going to be kind of disappointed at the outcome here. I don't know. I mean, he's getting the money that he wants this year. So 35.1 million this year for sure. And then at least that, but he absolutely could be a huge influence also. We talked about him obviously helping the lineup, him potentially helping the pitching staff a ton with his great defense. But certainly a guy like this could absolutely have a bigger impact than we're even on the field. Renee mentions Correa's splits at Target Field. I'll pull those up. One of the things you always got to keep in mind is it's against Twins pitching. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's see. Target Field. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. It's only 15 games and it's only 70 plate appearances. But yeah, I'll make that bigger. That's hilarious, actually. That's so good you got to laugh at it. So there, you can see the line is right above me is what you should be able to see. .413 batting average with a .443 on base percentage and a .762 slugging percentage. Yeah. Carlos Correa has destroyed the Twins at Target Field. Again, like I say, that's been against Twins pitching. Keep that in mind. But, there's definitely something, and it's only 70 plate appearances, so we can't think too much. But there's definitely something to some guys like hitting in certain ballparks better than others, mainly because of the batter's eye. The area behind home plate, or behind, if you're looking toward the pitcher at the batter's box, that area behind the pitcher. Some guys in certain ballparks feel like they can pick up the ball better in certain ballparks and not others. This is something that Willy Adames went from. I think I'm thinking of the right guy. Went from Tampa Bay to Milwaukee, and he was not really doing all that great with the Rays. And then he went nuts with the Brewers last year. And the reason that he said was because he never really felt like he could pick up the ball really well in Tampa Bay. That batter's eye, for whatever reason, just didn't work for him. Might be an interesting thing for anybody thinking about Nelson Cruz. I wonder if maybe that's why Nelson Cruz didn't play well in Tampa Bay. Anyway, sidetracked. So it could be, I don't want to read too much into a 70 plate appearance sample, but it could definitely be that Carlos Correa just really thinks that the Target Field batter's eye works well for him and he sees the ball well. Either way, you certainly like to see that, those numbers, than a poor performance in Target Field. There's a question, any chance Correa signs a long-term deal? Again, I prefer this to an actual long-term deal right now. Anyway, if the Twins were to lock Carlos Correa into a 7-year, one of those mega deals, that's so risky. And, the way the Twins operate, if that went poorly, that could, it could be like the Miguel Cabrera contract with Detroit. There's, the Chris Davis contract with Baltimore. Maybe, possibly in the future, there's a long-term deal. I'm sure, that's one of the things that now that he's in-house, they sort of have the first dibs, at kind of having those conversations with him. But I think this is exactly how the Twins want Carlos Correa on this type of a contract. Of course, there's risk in the deal. If he gets hurt or something, or tails off again, like he has had some inconsistencies. It's gonna sting to have to pay him that money the next 2 years, but it beats having to pay him similar money to that for the next 6 years or 8 years. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I think Alex Polanco is always going to be the shortstop. The second baseman. The Twins don't really like putting him at shortstop. And, it's hard to disagree with that. Not only is he stretched there defensively, there's maybe some thought too that some of the injuries he's had, Polanco, not that they're caused by playing shortstop, but that it's not as much of a physical toll on his body to play second base. So I think, having Jorge at second was always going to be sort of the most optimal thing anyway. At third base, I think there's a nice natural platoon again with Urshela and Arise. And remember that really have an everyday DH. I think we are all expecting Gary Sanchez to play more DH than that. Roster Resource has him as a starting catcher. I would be shocked if he catches more games than Ryan Jeffers. I think he's going to DH more often than not. But there'll be a rotation. This is a really nice. I think this team really suits Rocco Baldelli well because he likes to rotate guys around. The 10th guy on the Twins is going to be basically getting everyday at bats. So, and that looks like it's probably Arises. You could say it's Arraez. You could make the argument it's Urshela as the 10th guy. You could kind of make the argument that Sanchez is the 10th guy. All those guys are going to play regularly. I don't know that. I don't think that Luis Arraez is going to play every day against right-handers at third base. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how they mix it all together. Because I think Luis is probably going to DH some too, like they have on here. I don't think they should completely close the door on him playing outfield. I don't love him in the outfield, but he looks good. Luis Arraez is in great shape. So that gives me some confidence that maybe he could look even a little bit better in the outfield. And then just like we've seen the last 2 years, if there's injuries, you don't want Luis Arraez in the outfield as plan A. No. That's not plan A to put Luis Arraez in the outfield. But, as we've seen, sometimes it gets to plan B, plan C, plan D. And I think, having Luis Arraez as an outfielder as plan D should still be something that they keep the door open for. So, again, I don't think we have to worry about Luis Arraez, as a bench guy. If he is a bench guy, he's going to be playing a ton. Anyway. All right. Keep looking here. Is Target Field more of a hitter from the park than Houston's? I don't know offhand. I don't think so, because they have those Crawford boxes in left field. It's such a short porch. I'm guessing it's probably not that big of a difference, though. And, again, I want to kind of stress this again. What do you see the lineup looking like? There's not going to be like a lineup. There's not going to be a set lineup. We know this. This is most teams operate this way, but especially the Twins under Rocco Baldelli are going to be, circulating guys in and out quite a bit. And, this lineup here, this, I'm not saying this doesn't look, this will be a lineup that they use. This will certainly be a lineup that they use. But again, I think we're going to see more of Ryan Jeffers at catcher. We'll probably see more of Gary Sanchez at DH. And then I kind of think, Luis Arraez is going to play more third than Urshela, but kind of depends on, Urshela is a much better defensive player. And I like the fact that there is sort of room to be flexible also, not just on where guys fit, but who's playing well. If Gio Urshela comes out and plays like he did last year, Luis Arraez is definitely going to be getting more time at third base. If Urshela plays like he did in 2019 and 2020, well, then he's probably going to be playing more often than not. I think that's a good situation to have. And we can say that same thing about the prospects. If all these guys are playing well and healthy, no, we're probably not going to see the prospects. If some of these guys get injured or start to slip up a bit, those guys are going to be smelling blood. Don't let Jose Miranda get a chance. That's what I'm telling anybody on the Twins right now. You better be watching your back. So if that guy gets up and he plays like I think he can, I don't think you're getting your job back. The Reds say we saw with Ace. Yeah, I think the Reds, I'm not trying to discredit any of the reports about the Reds being done, but I just think that really serves the Reds narrative well. And again, there's no downside in them saying, oh yeah, we're done, and hoping that some team becomes desperate and then sends them a crazy trade offer. I don't think if you called up the Reds and said, hey, we want to talk about a Luis Castillo trade right now, they just hang up on you, or Tyler Mahle. So I think, I will not be at all surprised if the Reds are still going to make some trades. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm never going to catch up. With this chat. Thanks for coming. I'm going to wrap it up soon, but not right now. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat again, Wally. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody just for showing up. If you've enjoyed the stream so far, again, we're not going to quit just now. I'm kind of holding out because, this almost feels like the Donaldson deal where it's like, wait, is another one are they going to do a 2-punch? there another transaction coming? But yeah, if you've enjoyed the stream, please leave a like on this video. It'll reach some more people on the replay. And, consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. We do a live stream every Wednesday evening at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So if you enjoy this, certainly come back for that. I call that Twins Ticket, that show. And then obviously regular uploads in between. Lots of prospect stuff. We're going to see lots of minor league videos, highlights coming through. I try to make sure to get some stuff out that is that's not out there in that regard. There's a lot of great Twins coverage. I feel like we are kind of spoiled right now. It's a really great environment for Twins coverage right now. So I try to make sure I'm not just doing the same thing as everybody else, which is sort of part of why we're live streaming here. Derek, if you remember earlier, this was the Astros fan who stopped by. Again, thanks, Derek. And this is sort of his scouting report he's given us for Carlos Correa. And he says, truthfully, I didn't want him back at more than 6 years. And that, yeah, he would have loved it. So this is an Astros fan who was saying, like, this is like kind of the ideal deal, and he doesn't understand why the Astros didn't beat this offer. Of anything I can say, I think that's about as good as and Derek's still here. I think that's about as good of a statement as we can point at, that if you're a Twins fan wondering how to feel about this deal, well, Astros fans are kind of looking at this, scratching their head and wondering why Houston wouldn't do this. And that goes both ways too. Some Twins fans in the chat have expressed like, well, it would have been nice if they got him long term. Well, at a certain point, those deals don't make sense, and they go poorly more often than not on those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year deals. I really don't. The Corey Seager signing, man, that's really. I mean, I know Texas was just throwing around money, and to some degree the Semien signing too. Yeah, this is I would much prefer this to those. Not that those were ever anything the Twins were rumored to be in, but I'm still just shocked. This is insane. Darren, a Mets fan, thanks for stopping by and subscribing. I felt like this for a while, but I feel like Twins and Mets fans have kind of a connection. Like this kind of clicked when Trevor May went there. We loved Trevor May when he was here. But we hate the Yankees because they crush us in the playoffs all the time. You guys hate the Yankees. Like, there's a connection there. We had a Giants fan in there as well. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it. The entire Twins fan population's brains just exploded this morning. Just exploded. Did not see this coming at all. Not at all. I had figured that Carlos Correa was not even remotely going to be a chance for the Twins, mainly because I thought, he was going to get one of these $300 million contracts. Even now, if you would have said Carlos Correa is going to sign at a 35.1 AAV, I would have been like, yeah, Twins aren't going to go that high for anybody. All right. And a lot of people have pointed out regarding the Twins pitching, there are other, prospects coming through, of course. Always tough to expect anybody. The biggest leap in all of your entire time through the minor league system is definitely from AAA to the major leagues. There's no bigger leap your whole career leading up to that point. So it's really hard. Some guys do hit the ground running. Bailey Ober, this is my favorite Bailey Ober fun fact. He's already the best player ever at his draft pick in terms of Baseball Reference WAR, Bailey Ober. He's a 12th round draft pick. I don't remember his exact draft number, but nobody's ever been even as good as he was in just a half season or whatever, a little over a half season. So it's kind of like, if you want to play the optimistic side, if they can get Bailey Ober to do that, there's hope for, Jordan Balazovic could be a potential, middle of the rotation starter. We're talking about things that could happen, and, that it could go the other way, obviously. So you got to keep that in mind. But there's hope for some of the prospects to break out. Now, I don't feel comfortable with baking them into your expectation. You would kind of consider them the cherry on top. So hopefully the Twins keep moving and add some more pitching, because, again, this Carlos Correa deal makes every previous deal this offseason look better, and any additional moves they make more sense now. It makes more sense to push the payroll further. It makes more sense to be aggressive in the starting pitching trade market, even though it's going to be very painful. If you're trading for, especially Frankie Montas, it's going to be really painful. It's going to take a lot, a lot to get him. But at this point, it makes sense to sacrifice some of that to try to push forward. All right. We got Gio Urshela fan. He's a guy, everything has been so crazy and there's been so many moves and so much activity that I haven't quite got into really the video I want to do on Sanchez and Urshela. I thought there was a chance both of those guys could be traded, and there still is. There still is, maybe. We don't know. But yeah, if you have anything on Gio that you want to talk about, that you want to express, the main thing I know is that he's a great glove guy. I remember him with Cleveland being an extremely good defensive third baseman, and then broke out with the Yankees out of nowhere in 2019. But don't really know a whole. I know he's a bit of a free swinger, and had a bit of a down year last year. So if you want to give us any kind of more detail on Gio, would love to hear it. And again, the opt-outs, I think that I wouldn't be scared because if Carlos Correa is opting out of $35.1 million, that means you got a damn good performance out of Carlos Correa. So, yeah, would it suck if he, wins the MVP or something crazy like that and then opts out and the Twins only have him for the 1 year? Sure, but you just got an MVP performance out of a guy. I don't know how bent out of shape you can get about that. Yeah, Jim, I think this is sort of what I'm thinking too. I think the Twins could be second in the AL Central wild card, maybe. The AL East has so many good teams. They have like 4 good teams right now. It's entirely possible every AL wild card comes out of the AL East. And I know the West is the West is good too. But, if we could see a scenario, and this is what helped the Twins out, I think, a lot of years in the past, is if the AL Central is down again, like if Cleveland and Kansas City are not good again, and if maybe Detroit doesn't quite click, like they don't get out of that this down period, it doesn't always happen in 1 year. This might be the building year for Detroit. I know they had a good second half, so maybe it already started for Detroit, possibly. But maybe Detroit doesn't get out like we think they are. Well, then the Twins get to beat up on 3 teams in their division that are down, and that could help them. With the unbalanced schedule in the AL East, they're gonna be playing each other. They're all gonna be beating up on Baltimore, of course, but they got to play each other, and that could kind of be a X factor to consider in that. And Derek, his glove is insane, and Twins fans were really positive about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa for the most part because of his defensive reputation. So I think that's kind of something I've been trying to hammer on. I was hammering on with Story, and it's true about Correa. Yes, these guys are great hitters, but they're also insanely good at defense. So there's multiple aspects. How would you feel about an Odorizzi reunion? Yeah, I think I built a trade with him in it earlier this offseason. And I think, the one thing that kind of sucks is that Houston, Lance McCullers Jr. is a very big question mark. He's going to probably miss a bunch of time for them. That really sucks. I think that makes it less likely that they would trade. They have great starting pitching depth. I think Odorizzi was a very logical trade candidate for both sides. I think there was reason for Houston to probably want to trade him too. But now that Houston isn't signing Correa, maybe they'll turn around and sign Story or something. I don't know. But now that they are not signing Correa, I don't think they're as really motivated to move Odorizzi's money. And now that McCullers is hurt, I think they're probably motivated to keep as much pitching depth as they can. I think I would like to see that because, again, Odorizzi's kind of another one of those guys where does it really truly elevate? He's better than the guys we've been talking about, but would he really elevate the rotation? Not really, but does he make it look way better? Yes, absolutely. So that's a good thing to throw out because it sort of puts another name out there. There are, I know we've been kind of fixated on the Montas and Manaea, but there are other guys out there on the trade market that I think aren't discussed as much that make a lot of sense. We're getting down to opening day. I think it's less than 20 days to opening day, but so time is running thin. We'll see. Jace, thanks for the super chat. Manaea, Montas, Kepler, Martin, Wallner, Cavaco, Miller. To get both of those guys is going to take a lot. I'm not sure. And I've talked about how Oakland, we're not sure what they're looking for in these trades in particular. They've prioritized, it seems like, getting guys who are either in the majors or up close to the majors. I know Max Kepler's on a very team-friendly contract, but I don't know that they would be all that motivated to add him, to be honest. Austin Martin is a guy that they would definitely have a lot of value in. Matt Wallner seems like he's a prospect who has a lot of divided opinions on because he strikes out so much. Keone Cavaco, obviously a very talented guy, but has not. I don't think his value is not consistent with like a former first round pick in a trade. So I don't think he really moves the needle a ton. Noah Miller, certainly he's someone that would, but I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure Oakland's looking for a guy who's far away from the major leagues. So my gut feeling is that I don't think this would work. But if you're willing to part with Martin, yeah, I think you have a trade you can make that you're either getting Manaea or Montas. Now, Montas in particular, if a year and a half of Jose Barrios took Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson, now this isn't always the way trade logic works, but just saying if Jose Barrios took Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson for a year and a half of Jose Barrios, which was traded at the time, I know they signed him to an extension, but that's outside that trade. I would have to expect that Montas alone will cost more than, Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson. 2 years of Montas. You have a extra half season of control compared to where Barrios was. And he was better. Now, Jose has more of a track record of being healthy. That certainly factors in somewhere. But again, you got to remember, Frankie Montas was sixth in AL Cy Young voting. He was the top pitcher in the American League in the second half, according to Fangraphs WAR last year. Greg saying he likes the opt-outs. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm sort of neutral. I don't see them as a particularly negative, in my opinion. I don't think it's something to get bent out of shape about. All right. We got Phillies fans showing up too. They've had a fun off season. Just got Castellanos. That's going to be fun. And again, even a Phillies fan can take a glance. You guys definitely need another starter. Yeah, it's kind of funny. That's been the most obvious thing for the Twins all off season, and it's anybody can see it. Really, you don't need to know much. You don't have to be a plugged in Twins fan. You don't even really have to be a diehard baseball fan to take a glance at the roster and be like, yeah, that's the inadequacy with this team here is the rotation. So we'll see. All right. Shayla, hey, thanks for the super chat. Yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. I got to dip out of here pretty soon, but I'm trying to get to as many of these as I can. Again, really appreciate you stopping by and spending some time. It's been really cool to see a lot of opinions and to kind of put our heads together and think about this and just have fun and be excited. Andrew, another super chat. Again, really appreciate that. This is the kind of stuff that gets me motivated to get more stuff out there and get on these live streams. I would have been doing these for years if I knew how much fun I would be having on these. I've had the best time, and that's even during the lockout when we had nothing to talk about, and then there'd be like 20 people on the live stream on those. And I get it; there was nothing to talk about, I was still having the best time, so I'm really having fun with these, and I appreciate that you guys are here as well. All right. Oh, that's a fun one. Where was that? I lost it. I scrolled past it. I'm trying to scroll through all these. Somebody mentioned, I apologize. Somebody mentioned Tyler Glasnow. I went past your, it was Nick. Yeah, he might get traded. He's injured right now. But Tampa Bay is weird. Tampa Bay is a weird team. They might trade him. Who knows? And obviously he wouldn't help the Twins on opening day. But potentially like a second half guy. All right. We covered a lot of ground. I think we had a lot of fun. But yeah, perfect. Let's end it on this. Mike, it's a good day to be a Twins fan. It is a good day to be a Twins fan. That's as good of a spot to end on. My mind is blown. My mind is absolutely blown. The Minnesota Twins just signed the #1 free agent in the free agent class. A guy who is one of the better players in baseball, who is still only 27 years old. My mind is blown. Thank you so much for stopping by. Lots more to come on this off season, on this discussion. We're going to talk about Carlos Correa some more, even on the channel. I'll put together some more succinct ideas into some videos. But I appreciate you all for stopping by. Again, if you enjoyed this live stream, please leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.